Write this and submit it right now. As it turns out, I've had a child with the person I've been having an affair with. We've been together for about 5 years. I want to start living with that person from now on.
What he handed me was a divorce paper. I couldn't hide my shock, not just about the affair, but also the fact that he got her pregnant.
I'll go with Dad too.
My beloved son, too, abandoned me and pushed me further into despair. However, years later, an incredible revenge story unfolded. My name is Karen, a homemaker. I've always wanted to work, but I've been frail since I was young and couldn't hold a job. I don't have a specific illness, but my immune system is weaker than others. So I get sick easily, and even a slight cold can turn serious. But it's thanks to my condition that I met Mike. Wanting to change my frailty, I started taking walks actively. That day, I felt like I could go farther than usual, but I ended up collapsing midway. While resting on a nearby bench, a man approached me. That was Mike.
Are you okay? Would you like me to buy you something from that vending machine over there?
I'm sorry. If you don't mind helping, yes, please. As we rested together, we drank tea Mike bought from the vending machine. We talked as if we weren't strangers. We exchanged contact information and started seeing each other frequently, eventually becoming lovers. Throughout our relationship, he always cared for my health, so I felt secure. Our relationship went smoothly, and we got married. I believed Mike, being such a kind person, would surely make me happy. But as we spent more time together, his true nature began to show. Whenever something happened, he started making sarcastic comments about my frail health. I wanted to do well in cooking and household chores, since I wasn't working. I put my all into making sure Mike could rest properly when he came home. I tried various recipes, thinking about nutrition. However, Mike never commented on whether the food was tasty. Hey, how about today's stew? I really tried my best.
Oh, right.
That was about all the conversation we had during meals. Moreover, he would gulp down his food without properly chewing. I wished he would savor it more, but I thought maybe he was just hungry, so I didn't say anything. After finishing his stew, Mike looked at my plate. There's still some stew left. Do you want me to get you some more?
No, I'll take that.
For some reason, Mike took my portion of the stew. I was stunned, and he looked displeased.
What's the matter? Got a problem? I'll eat the leftovers tomorrow.
Wouldn't it be better to get some more now? Why take mine?
Don't talk like I'm stealing. You don't move around much, so you don't need that much, right? I work, so I should be the priority. If you're hungry, just eat some snacks around. That should be enough for you.
Hearing this, I was deeply hurt. Indeed, I don't work, and I'm not as active as Mike. But still, as a human, I need to eat to live. I was full of retort, but understood where he was coming from. As this happened repeatedly, I started to feel maybe it was natural for me to be criticized, since I couldn't do anything. Negative thoughts grew in me. Somewhere in my heart, I hoped Mike would understand me, acknowledging my limitations, but still willing to try our best together. I thought he was someone who would speak kindly to me. It's because I had such expectations that the feeling of betrayal grew, along with my sadness. Despite such a life, there was also something very happy that happened. About 2 years into our marriage, we were blessed with a child. Not wanting to burden Mike, I decided to temporarily return to my parents' house. Normally, he acts that way, but I thought maybe he'd worry about me being pregnant. However, Mike never once came to visit me at my parents' house. It was my first experience, and being frail made me feel very insecure. I even called him once.
What? Is something wrong?
No, it's not like something happened. I just wanted to hear your voice. Even though I'm at my parents' house, I get anxious being alone. Hearing this, Mike got quite annoyed.
Don't call me for such things. I'm busy, you know.
Of course, I understand that, but we're married. I want to be spoiled a bit. I hope you can allow me that much.
I have a position to maintain, unlike you. I'm leading an important project right now. Everything falls apart without me. So, from now on, unless it's an emergency, don't contact me.
With that, he hung up. My mother, who had overheard the conversation, said, "Was that Mike? That's no way to talk. Prioritizing work over your wife, who's gone back to her parents' house because she's pregnant. Karen, are you sure it's okay to be with this man?" in a somewhat angry tone. "I'm sorry, Mom, but Mike is really a kind person. I've told you about how we met, right? He's as important to me as someone who saved my life."
A lifesaver, don't exaggerate.
"I know you're worried about me, thank you, but I'm really okay."
If you say so, I won't say anything more.
This was the right decision. I believed in Mike and decided to marry him. I had to convince myself that this decision was not wrong, or else I felt like I would cry from feeling so cornered. Mike didn't come to see how I was doing during the pregnancy, but after giving birth, he started to help out. Maybe he finds his own child cute. I felt a little relieved. With Mike's help, our son, Chris, grew up healthy and strong. I think we were doing well after that. Mike continued to boast about his work, but I thought it was okay as long as I endured it. Time flew by, and Chris became a college student. He's now studying in medical school. Mike's work became busier, and he started going to the office even on weekends. He must be working hard because I can't work. I was genuinely happy about his efforts. I'll do what I can to make sure he has a delicious meal when he comes back tired. With that thought, I was even more motivated when one day, Mike called me to the living room, saying he had something to discuss.
I want you to write this, right now.
What he handed me was a divorce paper. Not understanding what was happening, I was shocked. "What do you mean? You want to divorce me?"
Yes, actually, I've got a child with someone else. I want to live with that person from now on.
"Does that mean you were cheating?"
Exactly. You're easy to understand, which helps. You're carefree and rarely go out, so I wasn't worried about getting caught. It was convenient to go out as much as I wanted. I was once seen with my affair partner by a junior at work, but I managed to deceive him by saying she was my wife. I guess we've been together for about 5 years.
Hearing about the long period of 5 years made my head spin. Was everything I did for Mike all for nothing? Come to think of it, I've never met anyone from Mike's work. He strongly told me not to go out because he was worried about my health getting worse. I was happy, thinking he spoke kindly, but it was all for cheating, and on top of that, having a child with someone else.
Then, write it quickly.
I was so shocked, I couldn't say anything and just stared at the divorce paper in front of me. Then, Mike said with a smirk,
You must be feeling insecure without me, right? Because you can't work or have any source of income by yourself. So, I'll give you alimony. You can live off that.
What about Chris? Stop being so selfish.
I'm going with Dad too.
That's when Chris came into the living room. It seems he had been listening to our conversation. Chris. I was stunned and could do nothing but stand there in shock at Chris's words. Mike coldly said to me,
I see. Well, that makes sense. It must be unsettling to stick with a mother who can even earn for herself. That settles it. Let's get the divorce over with quickly.
This was the final blow. Despite everything, I still loved Mike. I couldn't forgive the affair, but in a way, it's understandable that he found someone else. It's my fault for being incapable. Yet, the reason I wanted to hold on to Mike was because of Chris. Being abandoned by Chris, as well, plunged me into the depths of despair. But as Mike said, I had no financial power at all. Thinking about Chris, needing money to experience various things and grow up, made me feel both frustrated and sad, but I had no choice but to comply. Thus, I decided to divorce Mike. Having confidently told my mother that Mike is kind, I couldn't easily return to my parents' house. They told me to come back home many times, but I refused. I think I was just putting on airs. After the divorce was finalized, I received alimony for the affair from Mike. Mike said they would start a new life somewhere else with his affair partner and Chris, and I was left alone in this house. The room that once held the three of us now felt too spacious. Looking around the room, that seemed almost too quiet, I felt as if I was looking at my own empty heart. But now, I have to be strong on my own. After being abandoned by Chris, there were times I felt reckless, but somehow I managed to get by for 6 years. Perhaps due to overexertion, I fell ill and collapsed. I was taken to the hospital for treatment. Lying there with an 4 drip, I wondered, is this the end for me? Can I really keep living by myself? I have nothing left. These anxious thoughts filled my mind. As I laid in the hospital bed, about to cry, the doctor came in. And to my surprise, the doctor was Chris.
Mom, it's been a while, hasn't it? Are you feeling a bit better?
I was speechless, not expecting to see him.
You must be surprised. Sorry for not telling you sooner. After everything that had happened, I graduated from college and became a doctor. I chose to work here because it's the hospital you often visit.
Then Chris apologized.
I'm really sorry for everything up to now. I think I could have supported you if I had been stronger. But at that time, I had no other choice.
Chris chose Mike over me for the sake of the future. It wasn't because I lacked financial power in a negative sense. It was simply because he didn't want to burden me. Still, Chris apologized many times for abandoning me.
You might think you're okay now, but your collapse might be due to mental stress as well. Let's settle this. I'll help you.
I spent time talking slowly with Chris about everything that happened since the divorce, about Mike, and about ways of revenge. Chris had grown more than I imagined, and I almost cried. He comforted me, saying, "You'll be okay now." Normally, it takes me a week to recover from a breakdown, but this time, I was back on my feet in 2 days. Chris's presence must have been a significant factor. A few days after that, I received a call from Mike. It was the first time he had contacted me since the divorce. Even though I no longer had feelings for him, my heart raced. With trembling hands, I pressed the call button, and Mike said in a panic,
Karen, I need your help. I need money.
As was the case during the divorce, this man always starts conversations abruptly. The tension from before had vanished into thin air. Mike remained the same, no matter how much time passed. I decided to listen to what he had to say, albeit with a bit of exasperation. What happened?
Didn't I just tell you? I need money. Hurry up and transfer it to my account.
That's not enough information. Explain properly. Mike seemed quite desperate. When I calmed him down to explain, he started to share his situation.
She said she was the CEO's daughter. That's why I could give you alimony and pay for Chris's college fees when we divorced. However, for the contracts, I put everything under my name, but she was supposed to pay for it. And then she vanished without leaving a dime.
Hearing that his affair partner and child had run away did not evoke any sympathy in me. It was all his own doing.
Hey, it's a terrible story, right? Help me out. You're my ex-wife, aren't you? You used to love me, didn't you?
That was in the past. I'm not the same person I was back then. I will never help you. When I made my stance clear, Mike seemed a bit shocked.
Don't say that. I don't even have money for tomorrow's meal. Just a little bit would help.
Why would you even think to rely on me, your ex-wife?
You're right. You were always sick and couldn't work, so you shouldn't have any money. I get that, but you have the alimony I gave you when we divorced, right? Just give that back to me. It should still be there.
How long ago do you think that was? Besides, asking for alimony back doesn't make any sense. I'm definitely not going to help you. With that, I hung up the phone unilaterally. I remembered the time when I was pregnant. Back then, Mike had ended the conversation unilaterally. Getting this sort of revenge felt somewhat satisfying. Mike had asked for the alimony back, but even if I had any left, I had no intention of giving it to him. Surely he'll give up now. However, Mike was persistent. Phone calls and emails came in repeatedly. I blocked and set his number to reject calls, since they were too much. This should completely sever our ties. Or so I thought, but then, Mike actually showed up at my house.
I'll be living here from today on. There's still a room available, right? Make sure you prepare meals for me.
I can't understand his nerves. What are you talking about? Just leave already.
Don't be so cold. Karen, you'll benefit from having me around. Maybe we should remarry.
Stop joking. I'm not going to remarry you.
No need to play hard to get. Maybe I'll take a bath first.
There's no place for you here, Dad.
Chris, appearing suddenly, surprised Mike.
Chris, why are you here? It's been a long time. You said you were going to live alone after you got a job and left.
Then, he laughed as if he had misunderstood something.
Ah, I see. You're going to live here too, huh? Great. Let's all get along again. We can be a good family.
I've always wondered, why are you so carefree, Mike? You have no money, right?
That's true, but now that you guys are here, I don't feel sad or anything.
I let out a heavy sigh. I was planning to gather a bit more evidence before doing this, but maybe it's time to show you.
What are you talking about?
Chris brought out some documents from the back of the room. There was a photo of Mike's affair partner apologizing to a somewhat intimidating man.
You recognize this, don't you? It's definitely your affair partner, Naomi. Her story about being the CEO's daughter was a complete lie. She appeared wealthy because she was borrowing money. Having no way out, she probably fled from you, right?
After our divorce, Chris had been investigating Naomi. It seems she was seen borrowing money while apologizing. Naomi was known for her extravagant spending, which led her debts to spiral out of control. That's when she met Mike. Despite the money being borrowed, she lied about being a wealthy CEO's daughter.
Didn't you ever question why, even after divorcing, she didn't marry you?
Well, marriage doesn't define a family, right? We had a child together, after all.
That's why you're seen as an easy mark. You really should face reality.
Chris then presented another document. It was the result of a DNA test for the child supposedly between Mike and Naomi.
No way. Why?
Mike crumbled to his knees. As he read that, the child was not his. Naomi had also cheated with another man.
Maybe Naomi was actually married to that man. Dad, you were just seen as a cash cow to be deceived.
Chris, how long have you known about this?
For 5 years, the same amount of time you were having an affair. I started investigating Naomi right after the divorce. You understand how much Mom suffered, right?
But are you okay with this? Karen, you'll suffer from now on. You're not working.
Did you forget what I said before? I'm not the same person I was. I showed him to the room that used to be his. A new kitchen had been installed there, complete with cooking utensils. Since he seemed confused, I explained. I renovated the empty room to start a cooking class. This way, I could manage my own schedule, and being at home, I feel secure. The various dishes I made thinking of you have led to today. Thank you. Yes, I had embarked on a new path as a culinary instructor. My easy-to-prepare, nutritious, and visually appealing dishes were very popular among housewives. Posting recipes on social media might have been a good move. A cookbook publication is even in the works. So, I don't need you anymore. I have enough money, so please don't involve yourself with us in the future. After hearing my story, Mike just hung his head low. I was worried he might try to contact us again, but we never had to speak to him after that. He became too busy dealing with the repercussions of his actions. Naomi had left him with a massive debt of $100,000, and after it was revealed, he introduced his affair partner as his wife, along with other misconducts. He was fired. Now jobless, he had to start over, but the world isn't so forgiving to hire someone who's been fired for such reasons. Whatever job he found after, I don't know, but I heard he was worn out, both mentally and physically. Having to run from debt collectors, from shady places. But it was all the bed he made for himself. He must reap what he has sown. As for Chris, he continues to live on his own, but visits occasionally. I was worried, since he said he became a doctor for my sake. Was there something else he wanted to do? When I mentioned this, Chris laughed and said,
Don't worry about it. Sure, you were a factor, but it was my decision. I'll keep working hard.
Thank you, just don't overdo it. I am truly grateful to have such a wonderful son. He's my greatest treasure. As for me, I'm continuing my cooking classes without any health issues, enjoying my hobby. Thankfully, it's quite successful, and I'm grateful to everyone. I consider this my second life and plan to enjoy my current lifestyle to the fullest.